Okay, welcome everyone to the April meeting. Wendy, can you read the meeting announcements?
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Sparta Board of Education has caused notice of the time and place of this meeting to be published in the New Jersey Herald, the Star Ledger, tapintosparta.net, and notice of the meeting has been posted on the Sparta Township School District website.
Thank you. We get a roll call, Joanne?
Ms. Collier?
Here.
Ms. Gagnon?
Here.
Ms. McMichael?
Here.
Mr. Palesci? Ms. Seelander?
Here.
Dr. Serrano? Mr. Wood?
Here.
Perfect.
Mr. Morris?
Here. Okay, we all rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we're going to convene into closed session where we will be handling board interviews as well as attorney-client privilege. We are hoping to be back by 7. Don't hold your breath, but we'll be back. Motion to close session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ready? Huh? Good evening. Okay, we're going to open a not public session, normal session. Roll call, Joanne?
Ms. Collier,
Here.
Ms. Gagnon,
Present.
Ms. McMichael,
Here.
Mr. Pelesci,
Here?
Ms. Seelander,
Here.
Dr. Serrano,
Here.
Mr. Wood,
Here.
Mr. Morris.
Here. Okay, we're going to start this evening with our budget presentation.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So this evening's budget presentation, this is for the folks at home. Just like we did last month, this presentation is now on the website for those folks at home that would like to follow along, because obviously they can't see the screen from home. They can follow along. The link to this presentation is on our website as we speak. And this presentation is going to be almost exactly the same as last month's presentation. We just took last month's presentation with a couple of revisions and enhancements, but the budget that was approved last month is the budget that's going to be presented tonight, so the presentation is going to be nearly identical. So going through the budget highlights, once again, we have implemented zero-based budgeting, which I spoke to last month, which is rather than just rolling over budgets and budget lines and rolling over numbers, what we do is we start our budgets in the buildings and at the district level at zero, and we build from there to make sure that everything that goes into the budget is something that is absolutely needed and required to run the district and in the best interest of our students. The budget continues to fund, maintain, and improve the quality of our educational programs. All programs have been maintained in this budget. The budget continues to provide professional development opportunities to increase the teachers' expertise and efficacy. Technology infrastructure and maintenance upgrades are included in this budget, much-needed technology infrastructure and maintenance upgrades. The budget continues to support the social, emotional, mental health of the Sparta learning community, and there is just one capital project that appears in this budget, and that is the removal of the underground oil storage tanks at the middle school and here at Mohawk Avenue School. Just to walk you through the budget process, how it works. Months ago, you're talking before winter break, administration engages staff to ascertain and justify the resource needs. We have administrative meetings and talk about what is coming up in the budget and what our needs will be. There are multiple meetings with administration as well as with the Board of Education committees, and not just the Finance and Ops Committee, which is mainly what the budget would run through, but other board members are brought into the loop as well, and they come in to visit Ms. Black's office, and Ms. Black walks all board members through the budget. Administration revisited staff scheduling, overloads, class sizes, and programming goals. Last month, I failed to recognize the overload piece of this. we were able to, administration was able to, and led by Ms. Rossi and the supervisor team, were able to look at the schedules and look at what the overloads entailed. Overloads are a large part of our budget because for various reasons. So what our administrative team was able to do was look at our overloads and our class offerings, and we were able to trim down some of the overloads, and that was a big savings for our district in this budget. The tentative budget was approved by the Board of Ed last month during the March 14th meeting. At that time, the budget was then sent over to the county office. The county office approved that tentative budget, and the finalized budget is what you are seeing tonight. That is the budget that was pre-approved by the board, approved by the county office, and now is up for final approval from the Board of Education. As we go through, we're going to detail exactly what is in this budget, what the budget entails, but as we go through the budget, many people wonder, what does this mean? What does this mean for me? What do the actual numbers mean for me? So we get this slide early in the presentation for that reason. This budget includes a 2% tax levy increase. And what does a 2% tax levy increase? For the average home in Sparta this year, or for next year, the average home was assessed at $372,300, the average home. And this school levy effect for the 24-25 school year on the average home is $156.57 per year, or $13.05 per month. Just looking at the enrollment in our district over the past 10 years, you can see the enrollment. Over the past 5 years, our enrollment has increased 4.4%. So in addition to the increase, the rising costs of running our district, there's also an increased enrollment, and there's more students to educate, which is a good thing. So that plays a role in our budget as well. I'll turn it over to Ms. Black for the next 2 slides.
So there are 2 reserve accounts in the district. There's the maintenance reserve, and there's also a capital reserve account. The maintenance reserve balance is currently at $137,000, and the capital reserve account is approximately $1.2 million. So this table shows the difference between the 24 fiscal year and the 25 fiscal year. And as you can see, the first line is the local tax levy, and there's a 2% tax increase. There were 2 adjustments available for us to take this year as well. There was a health benefit adjustment and an enrollment allowance for a total amount of $393,000. We did not utilize that in the current year budget. It is available as banked cap. State aid increased for us $625,000, and the federal and state grants went up primarily because of the preschool expansion aid that we received. Budgeted fund balance is $1.3 million, and there's also miscellaneous revenue. You can see there's a decline there, and that's a result of we are not charging for preschool tuition. There's also withdrawal from capital reserve to fund the current year budget for the $100,000 for the underground storage tanks.
Just to give some background on what our budget entails and where the revenue comes from, obviously, as you can see, the local tax levy is an overwhelming majority of our budget, making up 86% of our budget. And as you know, state aid makes up part of that budget, federal and state grants, fund balance, miscellaneous revenues, and maintenance and capital reserve make up the entire budget. But just giving you a breakdown of what our budget looks like, where our revenues come from. Challenges faced when balancing the budget. This is where a lot of our larger increases come from when we were balancing the budget. First is salaries. The contractual increase of salaries across the district is 2.8%, which equates to approximately $1.2 million. The health benefits increase was an increase of 9.8%, which amounts to $750,000. The general liability insurance was an increase of 20%, which amounts to $240,000. The PERS contribution was an increase of 17.61%, which equates to $250,000. Special education increase of 3% equates to $250,000. And our transportation increase, the 5.81%, which is CPI for busing, entails $500,000. And this is just a breakdown of what the expenditures are this coming year versus the year that we're living in, the school year that we're wrapping up, the 23-24 school year, compared to the 24-25 school year, and what the increases were and what the percent of the increases are. And that's our biggest challenge when we create a budget any year, is the tax levy. We try to be responsible with the tax levy, only having 2% tax levy this year and still account for all those large increases means you have to look at other places in the budget to trim down to account for these increases. That's the biggest challenge of any budget in any district, actually. And what does this, just to give a little perspective on what the school tax levy means, the 2% tax levy, what does that mean? How does that compare to past years? The 10-year average, we went back 15 years, but the 10-year average of the tax levy over the past 10 years is 2.53%, and the average tax levy going back to 2010 is 2.96%. Then the purpose of this slide is just to offer a little perspective of where our 2% falls compared to past years and compared to recent averages and long-term averages. And that is the presentation. So at this point, we would move to the hearing.
I just wanted to say thank you as Chair of Finance for all of the board members for your many hours looking at the budget. It was very collaborative, and a huge thank you to Joanna and her team. We really applaud you for the amount of work that you do. I also want to give a special thanks to Mrs. Rossi, who wasn't here at the last meeting. Those of us that sat on the board last year gave a challenge to her specifically, as we were facing a year where we had to go above levy, to look at other places that wouldn't impact our students and our teachers. And one of them was looking at our COVID learning programs and evaluating our subscriptions. And I remember in a meeting setting a goal of $100,000, and you were right on the money. And the collaboration with the board was that we wouldn't cut it last year because we wanted to make sure that we could allow our educators, our curricular teams, to take a look and evaluate the best tools. And so I'm very proud of the work that this collaborative process has done to come in with that, as well as looking at the overages to retain our student programming. So just a thanks. I feel that my questions have all been answered over the time that you've spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Not a question so much as a comment. I want to reiterate what Lauren said. I think it has been a very collaborative process. I want to thank Joanne, too, for the hours we've been allowed to spend in your office. We appreciate that. The one thing I just want to make sure that we're mindful of, we have set a very modest number, and I recognize I'm sounding like a broken record with this one. We've set a very modest, reasonable budgeted amount for our legal services this year, and I intend to hold us to that number as close to it as possible. On that note, maybe separate, I do think that it serves our district to explore the RFP process when it comes to that particular contract, given the trends and given the items we've discussed. So just food for thought, something I want to make sure that we're keeping on the radar. But all in all, I do look forward to supporting this budget for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to open up for public participation. It'll act the same as public participation towards the regular agenda. All questions or comments will be related to the budget only. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to talk, and once you've talked, you won't be allowed to talk again. So feel free to come up.
I'll sign in when I'm done. Jenny Derricks. This may take longer than 3 minutes, but it is a budget hearing, so bear with me. This is a question that I asked in writing. Full-time and part-time of FTE and PTE, are there any changes in that number in this budget? In other words, are you making any cuts to staffing, or are you adding to staffing? Are all retirement positions being filled? Positions vacated by retirement, are they being filled? Underground storage tanks were already removed. if I'm not remembering this correctly. So is it just that it's being paid for out of next year's budget? How did you trim overloads? What does that look like? Did you make new hires? Did you cut programs? What does that look like? Let's see. Can you explain what it means the budgeted fund balance is 1.27%? What is the impact of the total when we only have very small numbers in our maintenance and our capital reserve accounts? What is accounting for an increase of 5.6% in the facilities and grounds line item? I think, and the one question that also wasn't answered in writing, well, it was sort of answered. You're looking at doing a bond referendum, which would include and has already encountered expenses because of an architect, as well as, so the architect has to create drawings. He came and made presentations with several options. There's going to be additional meetings where those professionals are going to be called on to give their information and take questions from the board and from the public. There's going to have to be marketing to run a referendum. So how much of that cost and where is that cost in this budget? What is it? The architect isn't going to wait to get paid if and when the referendum passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, importantly, where are the educational initiatives? What can you point to in terms of something to improve the outcomes, student outcomes, other than typical professional development? We have, just to throw it out there, our PSAT scores are lower than Newton in both reading and math. We have a second year in a row of not meeting our state goals for English language arts. What can you point to in this budget that's going to address those, our slide academically? Thank you.
Thank you. Dana?
Hi, my question's regarding the self-funded benefits plan that we have. I guess this question's for Joanne. Do you have the amount of claims that we spent last year to ensure that we are fully funding that amount for this coming year? And if you do, what is that number? And where is that number in the budget? Do I have to go sit down and then she can answer?
We'll answer them all as.
Okay, so yeah, I just want to make sure that the number of claims for the last 4 quarters, whatever they may be, because it's coming out of our pocket, that we are aware of what that number is and that we are saving at least that amount, right? We are budgeting at least that amount for this coming year to ensure that we don't go over for the budget. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, motion to close public participation.
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I will take the matters that had to do with more personnel matters, and that would be the retirements, staff cuts, and the overages, those types of questions. I can tell you that all programming has been maintained. So when it comes to overloads, it's not going to affect the overall programming of the school district. We just have revised how often certain classes, certain courses are offered, but students in the high school will still be offered through their 4 years the same opportunities that they have now.
That doesn't answer the staffing question. Is that the answer to the staffing question?
No, that was the answer to the overages question.
We're not back and forth here, so just
Yeah.
continue.
And as far as retirements and staff cuts, again, I don't want to get specific because actually those are personnel matters that have not been necessarily discussed with the staff because we were waiting for the budget to get approved. But there will be minor revisions as far as that goes, and again, will not affect programming.
But that's not an answer. Are we cutting staff? Are we adding staff?
He can't answer that because all the staff that's being let go.
I'm not asking
There, well, he just said it's all being filled.
So we don't need to get into a back and forth. If you can contact, but you can contact Dr. Beck if you have additional questions.
Joanne, do you have anything?
Yes. The underground storage tanks, yes, we removed $125,000 this year for the removal of 3 of our underground storage tanks. There are another 2, I believe, one's at Helen Morgan, and there's another one that is going to be removed over the summer, and that's what the $100,000 from capital reserve is going to be used for. Maintenance reserve and capital reserve, yes, compared to the maximum allowed, it is low. But what ends up happening is during you prepare the budget, and then at the close of the year, if there's surplus available, the board will do a motion which will allow us to replenish those funds if there's excess surplus. So at this point in time, the maintenance and the capital reserve are the $137,000 and the $1.2 million as far as capital reserve. Facilities and grounds, the 5.6, I would have to get back to you on the specific line items that did cause that, the overall total to increase by 5.6. The bond referendum, there's, the current year, we did allocate $36,000 for the architect. And that is for the preparation of, you saw the drawings and everything else, and his attendance at meetings up until the point of the time that the referendum goes through. There was another $6,600, which we are paying for a demographic study. The remainder of the soft costs, so to speak, will be done through the referendum process, whether it's a public relations firm that we use or the additional architect or legal fees that are done with the actual connection once the referendum does move forward. The other question for the self-funded insurance plan, we do work with our professionals on it, and they do give me the amount that I should be putting to a reserve so that we are, protecting the district as far as the exposure. When you're working with self-funded, your claims, they don't come in for several months, so that's why you do have to do this reserve. And yes, we do have a professional broker that handles that for us. And what is the line item called in the budget for that? So it would be medical, the medical expense, medical, okay?
I'll speak to the programming question. So there are a lot of things that we're working towards and looking on and refining. I wish that even any of the data points that you suggested tell the whole story of a picture of student proficiency in a district, but there are a lot of variables that impact that, so we're attacking all those different variables. One of the most important variables to attack is making sure there's a tiered system of support services available for all kids, and that's not only for academic supports, but emotional and behavioral needs as well. I think the 2 big things that I would say when you say what kinds of, in addition to what I'll share with you, how are we tackling some of these things? It is through PD. That's a huge piece of how you grow capacity to support such a diverse range of learners, which is what we're experiencing, a larger range of diversity than before as we look at some of the gaps that have been created or how the needs have been changing. But we're also really taking a close look at alignment. Our kids move through specifically some of those elementary schools at a rapid pace. And so you have to ensure that the things that we're offering there and the programs and support are aligned so that it's not that they're restarting in every school with a new experience or a new access to some type of intervention, for example. We are moving forward with a new language arts program grounded in the science of reading, which is something, fortunately for Sparta, that's not new, but it is a more comprehensive program. So students in K through 5 will have access to updated resources and materials that, again, are more aligned, more comprehensive, and grounded in the science and research, as we have had in the past. There will be curriculum writing over the summer to work on updating our curriculum and also to look at those alignment pieces. We are going to move towards a new data platform so that we could really easily measure and monitor student progress in a way that's less cumbersome and more convenient and efficient for our staff. We have access to things like the high-frequency grant, which has given us additional supports. So we continue to look at additional supports and innovative ways we can provide that, like the TutorMe platform. So we're going to take a close look at the data to see who is in fact using it. That is one thing we're running into, is that we're offering things that aren't necessarily being used in the way that we had hoped. And so we have to understand and make more connections and partnerships to be sure that the resources we have access to are in fact being, and I don't mean used within the school, but outside of the day. So how are those students being supported beyond the school day, which is sometimes the additional support that they need. We're in the process of looking at a tech plan and making sure that we're being proactive and not responsive to the supports that are in classrooms. And lastly, a really important initiative through the Culture and Climate Initiative is something that's been identified as a pattern across the district, is making sure that we have strong, proactive, and responsive behavioral supports. That's something that has impacted our classroom in a bigger way than ever before in a post-COVID world. So we're making sure that, again, there's not a different expectation at each building, and that we have opportunities for acknowledgement and supporting students when they're doing things that are positive, and that we're being clear on what those expectations are, but that also we have opportunities for restorative practices and consequences that are clear and easily to identify by the populations that are working inside of each of those buildings. So there's a multitude of things going on, and I am confident that we're meeting the needs of our kids, and I think that our data will continue to improve and reflect that over time. But again, I would just caution to be too careful looking at any one data point, because right now, some of those assessments that we see our students taking are getting further and further away from what we know are best practices in instructional application. And so it is a data point. It's something that we take seriously and we look at, but it for sure doesn't identify the whole picture of where our kids are, who they are, and the successes that they're meeting with. So feel free to follow up if you have any other questions.
Thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the budget?
Motion.
Thank you, Lauren. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Joanne?
Ms. Collier?
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Ms. McMichael?
Yes.
Mr. Paleschi?
Yes.
Ms. Seelander?
Yes.
Dr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Student representative report. What do you two have for us this evening?
Okay, so we're currently running a blanket fundraiser at the high school and for all the students. There's a Spartan blankets. They're super soft and nice, and they would make a great graduation gift for any of the seniors, or just a gift for any of your Spartans. In other student council news, we're in the process of planning our spring pep rally, which will recognize all of our spring athletes, and then student council elections are coming up in the next few weeks.
So now turning it over to a little bit more of what's going on in the sports and the clubs, what's going on. Sparta boys lacrosse and girls lacrosse have both been off to very hot starts, with the boys team starting 8-1 and the girls being 7-2. Recently, the boys have also just been given the #1 seed in the upcoming HWS tournament. In addition, there have also been other news going on between tennis has been having a very good year in HWS, and also in track, Belfortura has recently competed down at Penn Relays, where she placed 6th and set a new Sparta high school record. Also, new club news going on. DECA leaves tomorrow morning for their nationals competition. This competition will take place in Anaheim, California, where students will express their knowledge in a variety of different business categories such as finance, management, hospitality and tourism, and even more. Thank you.
Did you get a win tonight, Parker?
Yes, we did.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah. I like the new hair color, too, if it's fitting.
I don't. This was not by choice.
It was senior night. That was great.
I like how you're a team player. I appreciate it. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Yeah, before I get into the actual superintendent report, I'd like to acknowledge the student representatives. We've been working with them obviously all year. It's been a pleasure. This is the second year of this initiative. The first year included Mr. Wood, who slid down one seat. But what a pleasure it's been. And as we meet with them monthly, leading up to our board meetings, we talk about the upcoming board meeting, but we also get to know the students a little better. And what their community involvement and their school involvement between Parker playing lacrosse currently, the goalie for the lacrosse team, who was very successful, by the way. Sarah, what she does out in the community with all of her EMS work. But we've been following very closely. When I say we, it's Mrs. Rossi and I and Dr. Lazaro. We meet with them monthly, following very closely their progress and their hunt for college. And this last meeting that we had with them on Tuesday, we were able to congratulate them for being accepted to their colleges of their choice, if not the top college, right? Where Sarah is going to Pittsburgh. And Parker is going to Indiana University. So congratulations. You're welcome. On to the regular superintendent report. Recently, the fourth grade students at Helen Morgan School explored environmental challenges in a reading and writing ELA unit. One specific story they read focused on the importance of communities having access to clean water. This led to the school reaching out to Corey Long, who is the Director of Utilities for Sparta Township. Mr. Long took his time to provide extended, thoughtful responses to many students' questions about how Sparta gets its water. Mr. Long also provided the students with suggestions on how they can conserve water and what they can do to help keep Sparta's water supply clean. So thank you to Mr. Long in another collaboration with our township. An update on Helen Morgan Archery in a remarkable display of achievement in a recent competition. Congratulations goes to the Helen Morgan School for having both of their elementary division teams earning winning spots, first and third place, with only 2 years into their program. Both teams have qualified for the Eastern Nationals. HOSA state qualifiers. In late March, our future healthcare professionals competed and had 15 students compete in our first ever New Jersey HOSA state competition in South Jersey, and our state qualifiers and teams had an excellent showing for their rookie season. Alcohol Awareness PSA contest winners, an annual tradition. The Center for Prevention and Counseling announced the winners of their 2024 Alcohol Awareness Youth PSA contest, which the theme this year was Achieving My Dreams, Alcohol-Free. Winning entries emerged from 12 schools across Sussex County with around 200 submissions received. I'm proud to announce that the lone recipient from our district is Penelope Baylor, 7th grade student in Sparta Middle School. The poster winners were featured in the New Jersey Herald in the school section earlier this month, and each of the students were recognized in a special town hall ceremony on April 10th at the Sussex County Community College's Performing Arts Building within the theater. Calendar notes. On this evening agenda, you will see the recommendation for approval for 2 calendars. The first is a revision of the current year calendar, as we did not utilize all of our snow days. As a result, we have scheduled 2 snow give-back days for June 3rd and June 10th, barring any unforeseen school closures before that time. The second calendar recommended for approval is the 25-26 school year calendar. As you may recall, 2 years ago, we began creating our district calendars 2 years in advance, and approving the 25-26 district calendar this evening continues that initiative and allows our families and staff plenty of time to plan for the upcoming school years. More good news. For the second straight year, Sparta High School earned high national and metro area rankings in 2024 Best High Schools, which is a U.S. News and World Report released Tuesday morning. By earning a national ranking, Sparta High School achieved status as a best high school, making it one of the top high schools in the nation. An all-star librarian. Congratulations to Sparta Middle School Library Media Specialist Kelly Kiff. Ms. Kiff was nominated by community members for the All-Star Librarian Award that is sponsored by Jeff Kinney. Jeff Kinney is the author of Diary of the Wimpy Kid series. And Abrams Books. She was notified recently that she won this award. Among other prizes, she gets to travel to Massachusetts in June to meet Jeff Kinney in his studio with other award recipients from around the country. And lastly, but certainly not least, acknowledging the retirements, as I do every board meeting, acknowledging the retirements on this evening's board agenda. We have Doug Kraus, the French and Spanish teacher at Sparta Middle School. He has served the district for 15 years. Sure. Susan Goebel, a teacher assistant, has served the district for 24 years. Patrick Pergola, science teacher at Sparta Middle School, has served the district for 23 years. Pietro Piccolo, ELA teacher at Sparta Middle School, has served the district for 21 years. And last and not least, Suzanne Russo, special education teacher at Sparta Middle School, has served the district for 24 years. So congratulations and thank you to all of our retirees. And that's my report.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the presidential report. Prior to the meeting tonight, we held interviews for the open board seat. We had 5 applicants, 5 great applicants, all very good interviews. And tonight, we're going to fill the open seat. We'll take motions on each candidate as they come up, and then we'll vote on them. I will start. I make a motion to appoint Emily Serafino.
Second?
Second by Caitlin. Thank you. Any other motions?
I make a nomination for Melissa Churchwell.
Okay. We get a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay, Joanne, can we get a roll call for,
So, yeah, just the way we vote is the first nomination
Yeah.
gets voted on first.
yeah. Can we get a nomination for Ms. Serafino?
Ms. Collier?
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Ms. McMichael?
No.
Mr. Paleschi?
Yes.
Ms. Seelander?
Yes.
Dr. Serrano?
Abstain.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes. Okay. That have it. Our newest board member is Ms. Emily Serafino. Congratulations. If you stick around. If you stick around to the end of the meeting, we'll swear you in at the end of the meeting so you can get everything going and move on. Okay, congratulations. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the HIB report?
Motion.
Thank you, Vanessa. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Joanne?
Ms. Collier?
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon?
Yes.
Ms. McMichael?
Yes.
Mr. Paleschi?
Yes.
Ms. Seelander?
Yes.
Dr. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes. Okay. Delegate liaison reports. In reference to personnel, we've been bouncing around policy 9191. The big question was PTOs and whether they're covered under insurance, and that question is yes. And all the research has been done, and so hopefully that answers everyone's question on that. Town council liaison, we have looking to set up a meeting within the next week or so, so hopefully we get some other projects moving with them. And that's it. Another liaison, we discussed, we're going to start a new liaison/committee. It's going to be a district roundtable, which is going to consist of 1 or 2 board members, representative from the SCA, Dr. Beck, and some admin. Hopefully discussions monthly, every other month. We'll move along processes and interest for everybody. Hopefully it helps with negotiations, which are always fun to have, and that's coming up next year. So hopefully those, the new committee that Angela and I spoke about is successful. That's all I got.
I wasn't at the last Sparta Education Foundation meeting, but their 4th annual cornhole tournament is set for June 23rd, 9 a.m. to 1:30. I believe you can still sign up, grab a partner. It's a day of fun, a day of fundraising to make sure that they can keep awarding grants and giving back to the schools as much as possible. We see something almost every agenda that they're giving back to the community. So it's a great way to raise money and have fun. So if you are around and want to play cornhole, sign up a team. If you are around and want to watch cornhole, just please show up and have a great day, and let's raise some money for Sparta schools.
And they're actually also looking for volunteers. We sent a community blast out about that.
That too.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Just to report out a little bit on finance, in addition to, obviously, the budget was the priority for this. One element of our budget that we continue to look at is transportation with the costs. And you'll notice on tonight's agenda, we are approving the cooperative that we'll be working with for our special education routes. There were some routes that were not renewed, so we are hoping that remaining routes will come in as close to the CPI as possible. Also in transportation, there is a grant deadline coming up, as many of us have discussed, regarding the e-bus. And the program is available through the state. And while we are not going to turn down continuing to research, at this point, we are looking at the numbers. That is a $300,000 premium for the electronic bus. And at this point, with usable life, the infrastructure that's necessary, it is something that we will have to continue exploring, but the committee did feel like it wasn't necessarily in the best interest of the district to pursue that grant because of the fact that not only do you have to say you're interested in decommissioning a working bus that may have been out of use, but you also have to commit to purchase. And if you're not sure of the amount that you'll be getting, we could potentially be putting a liability that we could be taking away from students and programming. So we can be continuing to look at other ways that we can diversify our fleet and save money, but that was something that the board has been looking at. And at this point, we'll just continue looking at that, and that wouldn't be something that we're necessarily looking for. And I think that was the only one I wanted to note. Also a fun fact, we bought a cow last year. I just feel like publicly we should say that. We have local food funding. That is so cool. And with Mascios as well, our students are enjoying Jersey grilled cheese and a cow that was raised, I assume, in New Jersey. We did not raise the cow or harvest the cow ourselves, but I think it's really cool to see that commitment to sustainability and local agriculture and the funding that's coming in for it. So you'll see that as well. So thank you.
And the research regarding the electric bus is still ongoing. As you said, we actually had our transportation coordinator and our buildings and ground supervisor went down to visit Randolph recently to check out their infrastructure and how they are supporting the electric bus and what that would take.
Being that, are we looking at other avenues for buses? Being that regardless, a bus can be in perfect condition, but after, I think, 12 years, it has to be decommissioned. Yeah. Are we looking at other, besides e-buses? I know natural gas is a huge thing, and/or propane now is being used.
Yes. Actually, we did have somebody in to discuss propane with us, and we are looking for a grant for that as well. And Randolph, actually, they do have quite a bit of propane, so that's why I didn't go on the field trip, but Chris Tappan in June also did, our transportation coordinator. So we are definitely looking into that. We do have in the budget, we do need to purchase a new bus next year, but, we'd love to be able to do it with grant money, so. Again, we still are exploring the electric as another source, but, we've got, we're looking at it all. Let me just put it that way, so.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, moving on to public comment, number 1. Public comments are invited on all matters pertaining only to action items at this time. Please state the action item number as well as your name, municipality, and group affiliation. If appropriate, for the record, each participant will be given 3 minutes to speak. Once you have been allotted your 3 minutes to speak, you will not be permitted to speak again until public comment number 2. All statements must be directed to me as presiding officer. The board or the administration may or may not respond to any questions or comments after the conclusion of public participation. Lovely. Motion to close.
Motion.
Comment. Craig, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow, I'm gonna hit the gavel on that. That's great. I think that's a first. Thank everyone in the audience. Appreciate it. Okay. Can I get a motion to move personnel and policy 16.1 through 16.30?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Joanne?
I just have
Oh,
a
yes.
minor revision to that. It's the special services table on 16.11. The only minor revision is the table that was originally uploaded, the step column was in error, but the board has received this week just the corrected table with the step column corrected.
Okay. That being said, we'll hold the motions and Joanne.
Ms. Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon,
Yes.
Ms. McMichael,
Yes.
Mr. Pleshy,
Yes.
Ms. Seelander,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes. Okay, can you get a motion to move curriculum 17.1 to 17.10?
Motion.
Thank you, Wendy, second.
Second.
Thanks, Ms. Discussion. Joanne?
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon,
Yes.
Ms. McMichael,
Yes.
Mr. Pleshy,
Yes to everything except for 17.5, which I have to abstain from because my wife's on the SEF board.
Ms. Seelander,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes.
One moment, could I just, I wish to abstain on 17.2. Caitlin, you might wish to as well, just because we'll be attending the conference.
You can vote for everybody but yourself.
Can we vote for everybody? Okay, can we?
Yeah,
okay,
so it's
I vote-
assumed under that, in that motion
Okay.
that you're voting for everybody but abstaining on yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion on finance, 18.1 to 18.8. Thank you, Craig. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Lauren. Discussion? Joanne?
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon,
Yes.
Ms. McMichael,
Yes.
Mr. Pleshy,
Yes.
Ms. Seelander,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes. Create a motion on operations, 19.1, 19.2.
Motion.
Wendy, second.
Second.
Lauren? Joanne? Discussion? No? Joanne?
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. Gagnon,
Yes.
Ms. McMichael,
Yes.
Mr. Pleshy,
Yes.
Ms. Seelander,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Mr. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Morris.
Yes. Okay, does anybody have anything for old business?
I do.
Ooh.
I had a statement prepared, but I think I covered a lot of it in the budget hearing, so I'm just going to reiterate a few things. I do want to make sure the fact, because it was something that's come up quite a bit, that I want to make sure the public is privy to an ongoing matter. Obviously, my opinions on the abolished policy 5756 are clear. Our district did receive a letter from the ACLU of New Jersey encouraging us to reconsider the policy we had abolished. I appreciate the fact that we are sending out correspondence to clarify that we did reinstate that policy as, we revised it, or the board revised it. I guess my concern is the fact that it's still an issue. The fact that we are, and I just want to clarify too, that is not confidential because a press release was circulated by the ACLU announcing all of the districts that they wrote to. So just to make sure that's clear, that's a big part of why I want to bring it up in the first place. I just want it to be clear, we are spending money on that policy, the revision of that policy, because even our response to the ACLU requires cost to this district. So my concerns remain. I do not think the ACLU will take our response, and I hate to say it this way, but leave us alone, so to speak. I don't think that they'll necessarily be pleased with the response, even though we did reinstate a policy. It's important to note that the ACLU actually contributed amicus briefs to the ongoing litigation with the Attorney General for those 3 districts. So they're heavily involved in that litigation in some capacity. And that litigation is based on revised policy. So my fear is the same fear I raised a few meetings back. I feel like we're still paying for it. I feel like it's still an issue. And while I certainly don't want to be the squeaky wheel or beat a dead horse, I do feel like it is something that we're still dealing with. So I just ask that we're mindful of that we do everything we can to make sure we're addressing that. We're not being naive to the potential that still looms. And I just want to make sure I express that to the rest of the board, because I did express that to Dr. Beck and Kurt this week. Thank you.
Anyone else for old business?
I do have a little comment to make, unrelated to Caitlin's point, but I just wanted to give the Sparta High School Chess Club a little shout out, as they were recently at the National High School Chess Championship. One of the students, Brendan Wick, was Sparta's first undefeated champion, winning the U1200 series with a 7-game winning streak, and Rowan Mendel took first place in the U1400 Speed Chess Championship. I think Nationals is a really big deal. Shout out to Jenny Derrick and her article. We should be supporting our chess club.
Okay, if no one's anything else, we'll move on to new business. Okay, public comment number 2. The board uses second public comment period to invite comments on all matters pertaining to the school district. Please state your name, municipality, and group affiliation. If appropriate, for the record, each participant will receive 3 minutes to speak. Once you have your allotted 3 minutes to speak, you will not be permitted to speak again. All statements should be directed to me as presiding officer. The board or administration may or not respond to any questions or comments after the conclusion of public participation.
Good evening. My name is Angela DeLucia, and I am the very proud president of the ever-growing Sparta Education Association. I am here this evening to share some good news on behalf of our members as we begin the last quarter of the school year. This month, we celebrated School Library Month and Administrative Professionals Day. Last week, we celebrated the Week of Inclusion across the district. As a school community, we were able to recognize the importance of neurodiversity. Each school is sponsoring its own Autism Awareness Walk, which is a highly celebrated event. In our elementary schools, our students are participating in the K-5 Math Fact Challenge and are doing extremely well. At Mohawk Avenue, our educators are helping our students prepare for the science fair. And a special shout out to the IT department for preparing and deploying new Chromebooks for every student in the Mohawk Avenue school. At Helen Morgan, the spring season of explorations is underway. This is an amazing and fun way in which our teachers can provide enrichment for our students, especially if they are Swifties. The 4th and 5th grade classes are preparing for some really exciting field trips, including the floating classroom and Keene University Environmental Center. Helen Morgan students recently performed in their spring band concert. This particular concert was a bittersweet concert. Not only were the students superstars on stage, but we celebrated Patty Curtis in her 39th year in public education and our last concert before she retires in June. Next, organized by Kara Johnson, the faculty at SMS hosted an eclipse viewing party. This was a very unique and rare opportunity for our middle school students to view an anomaly of astronomy. This was a hands-on lesson for many students held outdoors in real time. And we always believe that there is never enough good news. So the SMS staff has been sharing postcards with positive notes to families as an additional and personal form of communication. And as Dr. Beck mentioned, Kelly Kiff has been recognized as on the national level for her librarianship. She has been awarded the Jeff Kinney Diary of a Wimpy Kid Librarian Award. At SHS, the music department just hosted their annual Jazz Fest, and as expected, it was a grand success. And DECA is departing tomorrow for their national level competition. And just today, the SHS faculty participated in its annual Take Your Child to Work Day program. Each year, it continues to grow. It is always an honor to get up here and speak on behalf of our membership. It is an honor to represent such a strong, dedicated, and invested group of educators and support professionals. And we look forward to sharing more good news with you in May. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jenny Derricks. I'm just asking for clarification on 9191. I had asked about it a couple meetings ago. The red line, what you're asking for the PTOs and other organizations is to get their own nonprofit status first in order to be considered? Or is there no longer an umbrella booster club that these groups can participate in? It was the practice. I was the president of the PTO at the high school for 14 years. We were able to take advantage of the booster club umbrella nonprofit status as well as the insurance. And this policy says that the booster clubs have to get, including PTOs, have to get their own 501c3 status, unless I'm misreading that, and please correct me if that's incorrect. That's an expensive process for these organizations to go through, who have to scrape for every dollar that supports our students. So I'm hoping that that's not the case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and also, Ms. DeLucia did not let everybody know that she's also now the new president of the county. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, motion to close public comment.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Matt? Yeah.
So the booster clubs do fall under, not all the booster clubs, of course, there are 2 that do not, but we have approximately 31 clubs that do fall under that booster club umbrella. And yes, they do fall under the tax exempt status, the 501c3. And once a year, we do board approve that motion, and you would be able to see it. It's in May, I believe. And you'll see where the board approves the quasi-organizations. And yes, they are covered. They do not have to go for their own insurance. They do fall under the school's umbrella. Or their 501c3. Yeah, right, that is initially, falls under the 501c3 of the booster club, correct. So they do not have to pursue their own 501c3 exempt status.
And on to good of the order. Just want to congratulate you two on your college success, on your admissions. That's very good. Good luck to everything. I have not been to any boys lacrosse games yet, but you guys are doing well. The girls I've been to, but could continue on your success. So, you know, I'll get to a game. Don't worry. I'll cheer you on. I would have went today, but I had to be here, so unfortunately, I would have been there. Anyone else have any good of the order?
There's one Saturday.
I won't be here.
I have just a few quick notes.
I won't be there.
So first, I actually want to thank, and I'm so glad Angela reminded me, but I want to thank Dr. Beck and all of the building administrators for the assistant. Oh, I apologize. I wanted to thank Dr. Beck and all of the school administrators for, first of all, for making sure that we had Eclipse sunglasses. I think that was tremendous. And for the sake of my youngest's vision, I particularly appreciate it. I will note it was definitely tricky for a lot of parents with pickups, so I just want to thank the buildings individually for facilitating that as best and as quickly as possible. It really ended up being seamless, I think, for the most part, and very, very quick thinking with overcoming those obstacles. I also wanted to mention I attended my son's 4th grade band night. There was not a dry eye in the house when it came time to talk about Mrs. Curtis's departure. We wish her the best in her retirement. Another thing, I want to make sure that we do acknowledge Kelly Kiff, because I think after the year she's had, she certainly deserves a trip. And yeah, I was so happy to hear that, so I wish her the very best. And I had, oh, one last thing. I wanted to thank everyone who came out to interview for the open seat, because it was, I think any opportunity to serve the district is a good one. And it was super refreshing to hear from a bunch of different perspectives. I think it was a difficult decision. There were a lot of really great candidates, and I strongly encourage everyone that came to consider running in November, so we have a nice diverse pool of qualified candidates. Thank you.
I didn't get to mention it in the committee report that I wanted to give a shout out to our bus drivers. We celebrated Bus Driver Appreciation on Tuesday, and I was sad that my girls' nap time fell on the celebration that we had over at the depot, but I do appreciate the PTOs as well as central office for making our bus drivers feel very special. And echoing Ms. DeLucia and Caitlin, the concert for Mrs. Curtis was incredible, and I know several of us were there, and it was so great to have the opportunity of, if you've played an instrument in the past, or a sibling could come up and join, and she just had the opportunity to take that moment in, and I agree, it was just it was like Mr. Holland's Opus, basically, in Sparta, so it was really beautiful, and really grateful for those opportunities to celebrate a really long tenure and that people stay in our district, and she has generations of learners that have a love of music. So thank you, Mrs. Curtis.
I had a chance to attend Jazz Fest last Friday. I'd like to thank Mr. Lopez for all his hard work. He personally emailed all of us and gave us free tickets to go. My kids were thrilled, so it was amazing to see all the different schools come together and play instruments, because that's no easy task, and it was really nice to see. So thank you, Mr. Lopez, for all that you do.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close out, go to the order. We'll have Emily come up here to be sworn in. There you go. Thank you.
Basically, the oath, you would just insert your name in there, raise your right hand.
Okay. Doesn't matter which one.
It's both.
Oh,
So you
okay.
start there.
Okay. All right.
I, Emily Serafino, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true and faith and allegiance to do the same and to the governments established in the United States and the state authority under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Emily Serafino, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of Member of Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant of RS 1941, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJSA 18A 12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, now this will be the shortest meeting I ever sat on, so can I get can I get a motion to close?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.